I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All six of them.
Who are you?
Matt once again, welcome back to another review, and this time it is for Alban, as my thoughts on A Few Good Men, trying to move it around so the light isn't blaring too much. But thank you so much for the request. Thanks are given to Alban. Appreciate the donation to my PayPal. If anyone wants to request pretty much any type of video, reaction, topic, review, whatever, you just send it directly to my PayPal or join on my Patreon. The links are down below. I will try to get to it as soon as I can. If not, no worries. But A Few Good Men, I do like the film. I didn't watch it a lot growing up. I remember seeing it a few times, no pun intended. It's directed by Rob Reiner, which is after he had done Misery. And you have a pretty good cast. I mean, you got Tom Cruise, Demi Moore, Jack Nicholson, Kevin Bacon, Kiefer Sutherland, Kevin Pollak, J.T. Walsh. And that really helps the flick, this very strong cast. Because on one hand, it's kind of a typical courtroom drama where these two Marines assaulted another, and that third Marine, he was a guy named Santiago. He died because of this. The two Marine story is that they were told by a code red, which is to do this extreme punishment, and that they were going to gag this guy, tie him up, and shave his head. But as soon as they did it, the guy died. And so this question, was there poison in the rag? Was there other shenanigans going on? Was there a code red in the first place? And that's sort of what the whole investigation and trial is about. Now, our characters, you got Tom Cruise, who's a bit, I don't know how you describe him. He's a guy that, a hotshot lawyer, young, full of energy, but at the same time, he's got a father that he can't really live up to. He's a very famous lawyer as well as being, I guess, some other stuff to Tom Cruise's character where it seems like he thinks he'll never be as good as him. So when he does these trials, he usually goes for a plea bargain. He's assigned to this case, which is in Guantanamo Bay. Joining them is Demi Moore, who is much more strict, much more passionate about this job, while Tom Cruise is like, oh, whatever, hey, come in. Hey, just take the plea bargain. Hey, you do this, you get 6 months. And the two Marines go, no, we didn't do it. We're not guilty. It's about honor and code, something you don't know about. And Tom Cruise is like, yeah, I mean, you're doing this, you could get the rest of your life. If you do it this way, you just get 6 months. Or 2 years, 6 months, you're out. So that friction between Tom Cruise's belief and honor and code, in this case for the Marine Corps. Jack Nicholson is a higher up, and he's only in about 4 scenes, but he definitely makes an impression. I mean, the most famous bit in the movie is near the end, where Tom Cruise, I want the truth, and Jack Nicholson goes, you can't handle the truth. Now, there's more to that speech of Jack Nicholson, but he gives very impassioned, intense speech about how you need people like me on that wall guarding you and your freedoms. And Jack Nicholson did a lot better than I did. So that shows what kind of actor Jack Nicholson is that even though he's in 3 or 4 scenes, he does make an impression. You know, one of the other scenes is he gives shit to Tom Cruise. He's like, ask me nicely. And Tom's like, what? And he's like, maybe I don't want you to stand there with your Harvard mouth and maybe extend me some fucking courtesy. So Jack Nicholson is the man. He's a great actor. From The Shining, I would say my favorite role of his, my favorite movie of his. As Good as It Gets is a great one. The Last Detail is a good one. And many more. Demi Moore, I've always liked Demi Moore. I like her in films like G.I. Jane, which I think is underrated. Ghost. Even Nothing But Trouble, which a lot of people dislike, but I think it's a fun, weird, quirky horror comedy with Chevy Chase and John Candy. I always like Nothing But Trouble. But yeah, I like Demi Moore. I thought she did a good job here. Kevin Bacon is the other lawyer who is friendly with Tom Cruise, and they have a history. But he's also like, hey, come on, man, take the plea bargain. You're a little bit out of your league. But at the same time, he's not a stereotypical, oh, just because he's on the other side, he's a one-dimensional villain. Because it does seem like there's a bit of a... At one point, he almost feels sorry for Tom Cruise, like they saddled you with this. So again, they didn't just make Kevin Bacon, like I said, a typical one-dimensional, oh, he's a villain, and he's just a guy doing his job. And, you know, Kevin Bacon's a great actor. I mean, I just reviewed the film he was in, JFK, I love Tremors, Flatliners. The list goes on and on. Kevin Pollak, he's not in the film too much, but, well, he is, but compared to the other actors, he doesn't stand out as much, but he's nice. I don't know if you call him comic relief, but you know, he works well with Tom Cruise. He's another guy helping Tom out. And Kevin Pollak is a decent actor. I liked him as Arnold's partner in End of Days, among other movies. Kiefer Sutherland, he works with Jack Nicholson. He definitely has that cold demeanor. Like, you know there's something up with him, but I thought Kiefer pulled off fairly well. And yeah, I guess when you look at the movie lineage of courtroom dramas, I would say this is one of the better ones, in particular for the cast. I thought Rob Reiner definitely puts, at least whether him talking with the actors or just the right casting, definitely gave the actors injections of energy and intensity during the courtroom, back and forth with the witnesses. Or when Tom Cruise is down himself, he's getting pissed off, getting angry. J.T. Walsh is a guy who's with Jack Nicholson. He disappears. Where did that guy go? Funny enough, I didn't realize this until watching it again. One of the witnesses is, or one of the people brought to the stand, I should say, is Cuba Gooding Jr. Which I was a bit surprised because the funny thing is he would work with Tom Cruise, of course, later on in Jerry Maguire. And then he would actually work with Jack Nicholson again in As Good as It Gets. So I just found that kind of funny. Like, before all those, here he is in this small role, but I said, oh shit, that's Cuba Gooding Jr. Tom Cruise, I think he's a good actor. I thought he brought a nice bit of humanity to the part where he's gung-ho. Yeah, there's a part of him that wants to live up to his dad, but there's also a part of him where he doesn't want to let these 2 Marines down. So when things seem hopeless, he's like, well, since we're our witnesses, I figure I'd drink a little. Or again, his impassioned, Not many people can go toe-to-toe with Jack Nicholson, but I thought he pulled it off fairly well. But yeah, I've always liked Tom Cruise as an actor. Risky Business is good. I reviewed that not too long ago. All the way to films like Edge of Tomorrow and some of the later Mission Impossible films. Again, always enjoyed him as an actor. I'm not sure this is true, but I believe this was the inspiration for that TV show Jag. I could be wrong, because I didn't watch much of the show, but I remember hearing through the grapevine that this movie, because of the success it made, it was one of the inspirations for the TV show Jag. It's like dealing with courtroom stuff, but you also deal with the military and the Navy, and at least they were from the Navy, but you know, they do courtroom crimes in the military. Again, if I'm wrong, feel free to comment down below. I mean, issues with the film, I mean, I wouldn't say I had a lot of issues with the film. Like I said, I guess it would depend on how much you're into courtroom dramas. If they're not your thing, I don't know if this film would change your mind. Jack Nicholson, I liked him in the 4 scenes, but I would like to have seen more of him because I like Jack Nicholson. There's really not a whole lot. There's really not a whole lot to complain about, at least from me for this. Like I said, what really carried the film, it wasn't the most artistic direction. You know, it was fine, but I can't think of anything remarkable or crazy with the direction of the film or the editing of the film, good or bad. With the trial, of course, part of you goes, well, and that's one thing they could have went further on. Kevin Pollak even mentions, hey, these guys forced and tortured this kid. Like this guy was weaker than them, and they did this to him. Maybe they didn't mean for him to die, but they still did this. Maybe they could have gone a bit further with that, with Kevin Pollak talking with the Marines. Because one of them mentions that at the very, very end. But it seemed like those are the only 2 times that really gets brought up. When Kevin Pollak brings up, he's talking to Demi Moore's character, and then at the very end, maybe like 1 or 2 other scenes, like maybe even you could have Kevin Pollak really talking to these guys, explanation on that, or even you could tell Tom Cruise and Tom Cruise talking about that. But yeah, the score, I thought it was a bit weird at the end credits. Like you have this trial, and then with the end credits you have this patriotic. It's like I get it because the military Marine Corps, but I just thought after this intense trial and the verdict, that seemed a bit of a curveball for that type of music. I would prefer like a musical score, like maybe a softer musical score that could rise up to something else. I just thought, I mean, again, I'm sure they did that because of the subject material. America, the military, the Marine Corps, but I just thought you watch the end of the film, the end of the trial, and then it cuts to that for the music. It just seemed out of place for me. Maybe not to others, but it just seemed out of place. At the beginning, it was interesting to see the drills in the Marines, where it showcases the soldiers doing their maneuvers with the rifles, how they're in check and have to be with each other, moving their rifles all around on their shoulders to their sides. That was an interesting way to start the film. Again, the showcase the subject matter at hand. But overall, A Few Good Men, it's a worthwhile drama with a very capable cast. Decent direction by Rob Reiner. There's anything I could complain about direction-wise. And while the film lulls a few times, there's really no twists or turns. Not that it needed it, but part of me is surprised there aren't really any big twists and turns. You pretty much know who did what by the beginning of the film. So it's not a lot of surprises. Which again, for part of me wants to say that's refreshing. The other part of me is, I don't know, maybe I would have been curious what they could have done with that. But as it is, pretty decent film, A Few Good Men. So with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.